This podcast may contain adult themes and strong language.
You stepped onto Busker's corner. Welcome to Busker's Corner Podcast. I'm your host, Robert, and this is a special bonus episode we're calling Winter Holiday Spectacular, featuring 3 news stories from 3 returning guests.
This special holiday bonus episode is all about decking the halls, counting down the new year, and goodwill to all buskers. I'm your co-host and producer, Fable, and it's a pleasure to welcome back 3 fabulous musicians as they share a few true stories about when street performance, music life, and winter holidays collide. A quick note about this episode: each story is going to contain a bit of original music by each storyteller, as well as some winter holiday-inspired pop culture music from various artists. So, without further ado, let's get it started. It's time to light that Yule log, fill up a glass of eggnog to the top, and get super cozy as we begin this winter holiday spectacular.
Our first storyteller is a singer-songwriter from the Midwest who's bussed around the Northwest and now performs in the Southwest. He's played his music on the streets so much he's known as the Highway Busker. Please welcome Kyle Perkins and his original music in a story called Flying a Sign.
My name is Kyle Perkins, also known as the Highway Busker. I play music in Santa Fe, New Mexico, downtown on the plaza usually. I gig around town and I also travel. Outside of music, I'm a carpenter and woodworker. I'm loud, but people have told me I'm in key. My passion for busking is to get people to interact just with their environment and be here now instead of being somewhere else or thinking in the future or being on their phones. That's my passion for busking, is to get people to dance. So usefulness of signs, like I never really use signs because I'm just out there for fun most of the time, just playing around, seeing how I can interact with people. Using a sign versus not using a sign. I mean, people kind of look at you like, what the hell are you doing here? Or they get a different idea and they assume your purpose rather than you just being upfront with it. And I think that being upfront, it's like a better result giver. One year around Christmas time, I decided to write on a piece of cardboard that I needed money to buy my girlfriend a Christmas tree. And the first day that I had done that, I went to the Santa Fe Plaza Center where the obelisk used to be, and I found an elf hat with a single bell at the end of the top of the hat. So from there, I just walking into people were like, "What? That's so cute." But I'd be playing music and people, they would just see it and people would give me a lot more money, I think. Just because it's the sentiment and everything. And around the holidays, people are a lot more giving rather than just like at the beginning of summer or something, or at the end of summer where everybody's like either broke or just getting, like into the vibe of it. But yeah, overall it was a good experience. Having a sign for the first time. Later on, after that, I decided to write out a sign for buying her engagement ring. And I hid it from her every time she tried to visit me while I was like playing around the plaza and she was downtown too. But that was a really cool experience because people really paid attention to that. Even more than the Christmas tree thing. They're like, oh, people were dancing a lot more often and actually interacting with me rather than just feeling bad for me. They were like, holy crap, you have a goal? So using and utilizing signs for either the Christmas tree or engagement ring was definitely a different experience and a lot different result.
I spent most of January in Ohio. Go figure. But there's a different definition of winter, and it's even colder. I'm not running out of things that I wanted to say, at least before that day. But I've got to get better, because I feel like I'm stuck in November, counting the days as if this were the way to grace. And I know yesterday...
Thanks again, Kyle Perkins, for sharing another story with us. I can see how stating your purpose would be easier for people to understand your goals as a busker. Often it appears half the people seem confused what you're doing there, and the other half seems to not understand what you're doing there.
Still cross her mind. I don't think things as heavy just disappear in time.
Just a reminder, we are actively seeking more street performers to share their stories on Busker's Corner. So if you or someone you know is a busker of any variety with a story to tell, please let us know about it. You can reach out to us on our social media or please send us an email. Now it's time to jingle all the way to our next story on this special winter holiday spectacular on Busker's Corner.
Our next story comes to us from a returning guest, and we are so happy to have her back. She is a professional recording artist, indie rocker, who plays and teaches many instruments. So please welcome Stephanie Hatfield and a story called New Year's Day.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Pretty much just shunned it. I'm like, New Year's? Fuck that. No. Hi, I'm Stephanie Hatfield. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I am a musician and voice, guitar, bass teacher, and a songwriter as well, and performing musician, recording musician, all those things. I used to perform in the church, and so I would perform for Christmas Eve. I was in the Presbyterian church until I was 12, and that was really my first exposure to singing in choirs and, singing more than just around the house. by the time I was 8, I was singing in 3 different choirs in the church: the adult choir, the teen choir, and the children's choir. Like, it's wherever they'd have me, I would sing. We would sing for holidays in the church, and I lived to perform. That was amazing. So yeah, they were always pretty special. My first performance, I definitely remember that. I was 8, and that was at the church. I had been chosen for a solo, and we had a really big congregation of like 400 or 500 people. It was a big church. And so I sang my solo. I was so nervous that I was going to trip. I didn't care about singing in front of people. I was fine with that. But I was the klutziest child. I would trip over my own feet. I was awful. But I was really nervous I would trip on the way up to the podium to sing. And I did not trip. And then I got up there and sang, and everybody got up and clapped. They stood up and clapped, which doesn't really usually happen in church, but I was hooked. I'm like, oh, this is what happens? Yeah, I'm down. So then I was pretty much hooked for performing from then. I had a lot of different 9-to-5 jobs from my early mid-20s until about 35.
Sometimes it seems like this was all just a joke.
You know, I'd written music, and I played in a cover band for a little while, and like 3 years in Albuquerque, and so I'd always kept my toes in it. I'd always kept doing little things here and there. By the time I was going to turn 35, I said, this is the time. I've got this music. I need to record something. I need to actually try to do it before I completely give up. So that's what I did. That's when I went in to make my first album at the age of 35. January 1st, it was. It's the new year. And that is also when I started working with Bill, because I'd hired him to engineer my first album and produce it. And we fell in love in those first 5 days, and that was that. So yeah, I think the reason we chose New Year's Day is because my whole teenage years and young adult years, I was the person who was crying in the corner on New Year's Eve. Always. Because I didn't have a date or a boyfriend, or my life wasn't going the way I wanted it to. I was always miserable. And then there seemed to be so much expectation for it that I pretty much just shunned it. I'm like, New Year's? Fuck that. No. And so when we put down a date to start recording New Year's Day, sure, let's start fresh, let's do this. It's not like I'm gonna be hungover, because I'm not doing shit. So we started on New Year's Day, and then as it turned out, Bill and I fell in love through the following year. And I think as a matter of significance for that, for having started on the 1st, that's when we ended up getting married. We did perform at the Cowgirl on New Year's Eve before our wedding. So I was hungover for my wedding, as it turns out. So was everybody else, actually, in our in our family. So.
Close your eyes, tell me what you see.
And then now, I think my idea of what success really is has certainly been changing as the years have gone on. But at least I get to write music, and I get to record it and perform it, and then share it with other people through teaching and my recordings. So that's great.
Pull me in, leave
Stephanie Hatfield. We at Busker's Corner Podcast certainly are happy you returned to music on that fateful New Year's Day.
Playing behind us now is one of my favorite tracks called In Those Woods by Stephanie Hatfield. To hear more of Stephanie's original music, please check out our show notes. We've included links to her music as well as all the other wonderful musicians on this episode. And now let's get back to another true story of making spirits bright on this winter holiday spectacular.
Our final story in this wonderful winter spectacular bonus episode features another returning guest known for her many talents. She is a fine artist, a musician in the band Roadhouse Kharma, and has been performing in a burlesque troupe called Chicks with Chainsaws for over a decade. Here's Shelly Johnson in a story called Emphasis on Odd.
They didn't call us freaks. It was somewhere between unique and freak. Madrid is a quirky little village in New Mexico of 300 people, mostly filled with artists and musicians and writers and photographers, filled with live music. Lots of our bands have played there throughout the years. And I'll read your body. It's a close-knit, I guess you could say, little village where if anyone has a challenge, people step in. The overall common theme, I would say, of Madrid would be people who've chosen to live life outside of the box in various ways. Only $5 for treasures. It's a great little place. It's a fun little place to live. Read my hand, and I'll read your body.
Chicks with chainsaws.
I'm in a performance troupe in Madrid, New Mexico called Chicks with Chainsaws. And we've been doing performance together for about 12 years.
Well, there's gonna be a freaker's ball tonight at the freaker's hall. And you know you're invited, one and all. Come on, baby.
Pretty campy. Costumes are a big part of our production. We do acrobatics, we do trapeze. Lori performs on chains and fabric, and we dance. In the beginning, we played music too. I got behind a drum kit, and we had a couple of guitar players. We've been in parades in Santa Fe. We've been at the Gay Pride Parade. We've been in that one at least twice with our chainsaws. We've been in many, many parades in Madrid every 4th of July. During the holidays, the first Saturday in December, there's a holiday parade. We've been in many of those. It's a huge day in Madrid. Everyone in Madrid comes out to be a part of the parade and dresses up. We typically dance with our chainsaws. We aren't doing a lot of acrobatics. We're just moving with the rest of everyone. We've occasionally done floats as well. I believe it was 2 or 3, I think 3 years ago, we were on CBS Sunday Morning News.
'Tis the season for visitors to flock to the town of Madrid, New Mexico. That's right, it's called Madrid. For a close-up look at its unusual take on Christmas, Connor Knighton is just back.
They zoomed in on us and said, and there are the chicks with chainsaws, with our plastic chainsaws. They zoomed in and said something along the lines of, wow, they have really unique people in this little village. But it wasn't unique. It was something along the lines of unique. They didn't call us freaks. It was somewhere between unique and freak.
Welcome to the tiny town of Madrid, New Mexico. Where the 300-odd residents, emphasis on the odd, proudly march to the beat of their own drummer in their annual offbeat Christmas parade.
It might got bigger this year, but normally it's about 8 minutes.
I had friends from around the country say, I just saw you with a chainsaw in a parade in Madrid on the CBS Sunday Morning News.
I guess I really don't know what Christmas is all about.
How did it make me feel to have the CBS Sunday Morning News call us freaks?
Who knows what Christmas is all about?
It felt great. It felt pretty apropos.
I can tell you what Christmas is all about.
Chestnuts roasting, Jack Frost nipping at your nose. So offering this simple phrase.
Thank you, Shelly Johnson, for your story. I have never been called odd on national television yet, but it sounds like fun. So there it is, the end of the Winter Spectacular, with a story about breaking down assumptions, a story about New Year's resolutions, and a story about people who are somewhere between unique and freak.
Thank you so much for joining us on this special holiday bonus. We really wish you a wonderful winter. And if you're spreading some holiday cheer, please remember to spread the word about our Busker's Corner podcast to your friends and family. It really means so much to us, and it could help us grow a lot in this new year. And that's a wrap on this year's Winter Holiday Spectacular. Please join us next season for more true stories from the world of street performance.
But for now, you're stepping off Busker's Corner.